Hey there, let's talk about making music in small groups. It's way more than just playing notes on a page. It's actually one of the most intense and rewarding team activities you can possibly imagine.
So, have you ever wondered how a handful of musicians playing really complex music can stay perfectly in sync? Especially when there's no conductor waving a baton? How do they communicate starts, stops, and all the feeling in between without saying a single word? Well, that's the big question we're going to dive into.
So this style of music actually has a name: chamber music. The name itself tells a story. It comes from a time when this music was played in small rooms, or chambers, for royalty and their friends, not in huge concert halls. It's meant to be intimate and personal, which is exactly why it got the nickname, the music of friends.
All right, let's start with maybe the most famous chamber group of all, the string quartet. And the best way to think about it isn't as four instruments just playing at the same time. It's much more like four people having a really detailed, emotional conversation.
In this conversation, each player has a really specific job. The first violin is kind of like the main speaker, carrying the melody. The second violin adds the harmony, supporting that main idea. The viola fills in that crucial middle ground, and the cello provides this deep, solid base for everyone else to build on. The goal, the real magic trick, is to make all four of them sound like one single rich instrument.
And that brings us right back to our big question. If there's nobody out front telling them what to do, how do they avoid total chaos? Who's the boss here?
Well, the answer is kind of cool. They all are. They lead each other using this sort of secret language of physical cues. A quick, sharp breath can be the signal for, okay, let's all start right now. They use constant eye contact to stay emotionally connected, and a subtle nod of the head can mark a change in speed or volume. It's all about watching and listening all the time.
Of course, it is not all about strings. Let's take a look at how this teamwork plays out in other groups that create a whole spectrum of different musical colors.
Now, to understand these different groups, we need to know this one word: timbre. It sounds technical, but it's actually pretty simple. Timbre is just an instrument's unique voice, its sound personality. It's the reason a flute's sound is light and airy, while a tuba's is deep and booming. It's basically their sonic fingerprint.
A woodwind quintet is a fantastic example of mixing timbres. Here you have 5 instruments: a flute, oboe, clarinet, bassoon, and French horn, and each one has a very distinct personality. The real challenge is making all of those different voices work together as one team. And here's a great example of that contrast. You've got the flute way up high with its bright, airy sound, and then way down low you have the bassoon with its deep, reedy buzz. Composers use this variety like a painter uses different colors, creating all sorts of moods with sound. Then you get to the real powerhouses, brass ensembles. A brass quintet can be incredibly loud and energetic. They've got this bright, metallic sound that can fill a huge space, which is probably why you often hear them at big outdoor events like graduation ceremonies.
And for pure energy, you just can't beat a percussion ensemble. They use this amazing variety of instruments that you hit, shake, or scrape to create these complex, driving rhythms that just make you want to move.
Okay, now let's look at a few groups that kind of break the traditional mold. They add in new elements, like the human voice, the power of a piano, or, get this, music that's made up right on the spot.
So when a group sings with no instruments at all, that's called a cappella, and this takes an incredible amount of skill. The singers have to blend their voices perfectly and stay exactly in tune with each other, creating all the harmony and rhythm completely by themselves.
A piano trio is another really popular combination. It brings together the massive range and power of a piano with the beautiful singing voices of the violin and cello. The biggest challenge here is all about balance, making sure that powerful piano doesn't completely overpower the softer string instruments.
So far, we've mostly talked about playing music that's been written down. But some groups specialize in creating music in the moment, and this is the amazing world of the jazz combo.
The key ingredient in all of jazz is improvisation. This is literally the art of making it up as you go. Now, the musicians have a basic chord structure to follow, so it's not random, but the melodies they play, those are brand new, created right there on stage.
So, how does this even work without turning into a mess? Well, you have the rhythm section, usually a bass and drums, and they lay down a solid foundation. Over that, a lead instrument, like a saxophone, will invent a solo. But the most important rule of all, everyone has to listen intently to what the others are doing and react to it, building the music together in real time.
So why does all of this matter?
Whether we're talking about a string quartet or a jazz combo, it turns out that playing in a small group teaches you things that go far, far beyond just music.
This quote really just captures the whole spirit of it. There isn't one single boss. The leadership actually flows through the group. Sometimes you're the one leading with the melody, and seconds later, you're the one following, providing support for someone else's idea.
So all those hours spent in rehearsal, they're not just about playing the correct notes. They're about building a much deeper set of skills that, honestly, you can use anywhere in your life.
I mean, you learn teamwork on a whole new level. You learn to listen with incredible focus, to lead with confidence, and to follow with trust. You learn how to communicate complex ideas without words, and you learn that you are personally responsible for your part, because without it, the whole thing falls apart.
And ultimately, that's the big takeaway. Playing music in a small group is this powerful lesson in collaboration. It's about a few people coming together, combining their individual skills to create something beautiful, something way bigger than any one of them could create alone.
And that leaves us with a final thought. It doesn't have to be music. What's a small team you could be a part of? A project, a club, a group of friends? What amazing thing could you create together if you all learn to listen, lead, and collaborate?